First function I like to show for cardiologists are checklists. The idea behind checklists, it's where you have consultations or assessments, and these follow a standard question and answer format. Using checklists, you can significantly reduce data entry, ensure consistency, and it allows for research if needed. First, I'm going to show you how you can download checklists that other users have created. So in Genie, we click the special menu at the top and we choose software updates. There's a checklist tab, and there are different categories for checklists. So you choose the category you wish to look at. For instance, I'm going to choose cardiovascular. Then you tick the checklist you wish to look at on the right, and you choose import one item and save. This will import it into your Genie database. Now, if you want to use a checklist, we click on the Add Consult window, and there's a checklist drop-down menu. You choose the one that you've just downloaded. So you can see that any user has downloaded this checklist, and from here we can tick different options. As you can see, I'm ticking different options. We have menu options, so you can put in your common menu and commonly chosen options. Once you've finished filling out the form, you get to say which box of the consultation window I want to go in. I'm going to choose history and save. You will see that now my answers have pre-populated into my consultation record. When you use a checklist and download it, you can also use it through the other tab of the clinical file using the plus. Same thing again, you choose which checklist you wish to use, and this presents the checklist without it needing to be added from the consultation note window. You can also build your own checklists rather than having to download it from a special menu. If this is something you're interested in, I would recommend that you have a look at our knowledge base, and it does detail how you can build your own checklist from scratch. So I strongly recommend using checklists because there's so many different functions you can use it for. An underrated thing that you can do with checklists as well is you can use it from your letter window. The idea is that you might be performing a standard questionnaire with the patient, and you want to include your questions from the checklist directly into a letter template. If this is something you're interested in our knowledge base does detail how you can attach a checklist to a letter as well. The next tool I like to show for cardiologists are pathology sets. The idea behind a pathology set, it's where you request the same group of pathology tests for a certain condition or reason. To create a pathology set, we first go to the pathology request window. Next, we search for the first test we want as part of this combination, for instance, FBC, and I double click to add it to the list. I'm going to next search for each test that I individually want and double click it to add it to my list. Once I'm happy with my list, I'm going to point out that there's a set drop-down menu. From here, I'm going to choose Save Set, and I give this a name, for instance, Standard Screen. Now, how do I use a set? If I just cancel out of there and go back to the pathology request window, you'll see there's a set drop-down menu, and I can choose my standard screen from here. And that presents all of the standard screen sets that we have made. The question often get asked is what happens if you want to do that standard screen but also include an additional test? You choose that set drop-down menu, and then you search for the individual test. For instance, you might search for vitamin D on top of your standard screen. You just search for vitamin D on the left. So I strongly recommend pathology sets because this will save you time when requesting pathology. You can also add measurements of the patient into Genie. This allows you to track measurements over time and report on measurements. This is normally done from the consultation window, and at the bottom right, there is a plus icon. I'm going to insert a blood pressure, but you see there's also the option to put in heights, weights, and it calculates BMI for you as well. If I click OK, you can see that the result is now reported in that pink table. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to change the date for a measurement so you can see how measurements change over time. So if I click OK, I want to point out there's a pie chart icon. And from here, you can graph any measurement that you insert in Genie. For instance, we can see for this patient, their BMI has increased over a period of time. Measurements are also really useful that you can include your measurements into your letter templates as well. There's an option for serial measurements in your letter templates, and that brings in all measurements of a specific type, for instance, all BMIs over time. Or you can use last measurements, and that brings in the most recent measurement. So if you aren't using measurements in Genie already, I strongly recommend you do it because there's so many good functions you can use it for.